Hello, hello. Welcome to this catastrophe of an art gripe. I'm going to be kind of in a cantankerous mood for a lot of different reasons, which I will explain now. I will explain them now. This is going to be 3 total drawings, because I had this bright idea of what should I talk about in an art gripe. I know, I'll talk about One Piece. I haven't done that before, and it's been having some recent stuff going on, so I'll do that. I'm not practiced at drawing One Piece characters, so I lost my fucking goddamn mind, at least once or twice. But jumping ahead past all that, the stuff that I was going to talk about, since I have 3 different drawings I'm going to show you. 2 of them have time lapses. 1 does not, which is another story. But consequently to that, the total of all the time lapses of the 2 that I have was 13 hours. In total, probably like 20 hours almost spent on all 3 drawings. Trying to fit 13 hours of time lapse into a single video was not easy. So to that end, I decided, you know what? I'm going to do something clever and inventive today. I'm going to do something that'll spice it up. And I am going to take both videos simultaneously and crop them in such a way that one is on the top, one is on the bottom. Because if I do them like it is here, if I try to do it like it is here in every other video, with one coming first and then another one, then it would be like 2 hours long, and I can't do that. But, but, you guys don't care about this, but listen, you're probably being amused, listen to me be angry. Let's just say that so I can bitch about this. However, I would, upon recording about 13 minutes of commentary, realize this is going by alarmingly fast. Wait, why is the video almost done? What's going on? And then I realized, because DaVinci, for some reason on their timeline, always puts a 1 in front of everything. Even if you have nothing on the timeline at all, and it's 0 seconds, it'll still say 1 hour. I don't know why. I have no clue why. But as a result, I had something like, I was prepared to do an hour and 13 minutes of commentary, and ended up just being like 13 minutes. So I had to get rid of that, and after I realized that, I thought, well, I'll keep the double feature thing, because that's kind of interesting, even though it's a little bit overwhelming. But then I realized, oh, I never actually cropped the top one correctly. And because cropping things in DaVinci is kind of a pain in the ass, I eventually just decided, fuck it. I don't care. I don't care. I give up. So we're just doing it normal. But I still have to explain why I'm irate. So here we are. Thanks, DaVinci. Thanks, everything. Okay, you might be wondering, why is he doing 3? What's up with the 3 thing? Okay. Actually, 4. Technically, I drew 4 things. I decided to do the One Piece thing, for reasons I don't even really recall clearly at this point. And I started trying to draw Yamato, but I was trying to draw like the human version, and I had I've explained this before, how some days you will wake up and you're just not feeling it. Like, I used to play basketball, right? Some days you would wake up, like you have a great game. Let's say you have a great game. You hit all your 3-point baskets, you drive the baseline super well, you roll that layup right off the tip of your finger. It's just fucking sweet as hell. The cheerleaders are like, oh, yeah, I love you. And, it's just a great game. And then the next day, you go to practice, and you airball every shot, you brick everything, you're tripping over your own feet. In theory, nothing changed. Like, in theory. But your body just has weird chemistry that day for some reason. You just woke up weird. Your diet was a little bit strange the prior day or something. It could be anything. That happens, the exact same thing happens when it comes to drawing pictures. Some days you're just not feeling it for whatever reason. So that happened with the Yamato thing. And then I started thinking, oh god, the whole Yamato thing is also going to... Because I was failing at practicing, like, ever so often I'll do, like, some practice just to try the... Like, not record it or anything, just, like, doing basic shapes. The stuff you see me do in these art gripes in the first, like, 1 minute or so. Like, just nothing. I wasn't feeling that. And then I realized, if I do the Yamato thing, I'm going to also have a commentary where I have to, like, explain why the he-she thing is weird with that character. Because for some people, it's like a trans issues thing, whereas with the creator, it seems like it's more of a joke, in a way, but it also sort of isn't sometimes. It's very strange, and I don't want to talk about, it's an important issue, depending on how you look at it, because if it is a trans issue, it's an important issue. If it's just a dumb joke, I don't know how to deal with it, because then you're not addressing it in a way that is conducive to that sort of discussion, and just... I got to that point in my head, I was like, fuck it. No. I'm not gonna... No, I just want to talk about the silly manga with the rubber man. I don't want to deal with that right now. Especially since I'm doing an animation right now, and I just want to do an art gripe just to get it out of the way, or else I'm going to lose my mind and spend the first 10 minutes of the art gripe actually just talking about why I'm insane instead of talking about the thing. And here, we wouldn't want that to happen, would we? No. So, in consequence, I decided, I know, I'll draw, like Carrot. Because I like Carrot. Because Carrot's cute. Fucking kawaii as balls. And, after thinking about that, I thought, well, it's been quite some time since Carrot was really... Actually, now that I think about it, Carrot was never important to the plot. So I decided I'll pick something recent. Something that just happened. Lilith. Lilith is like the new hot piece of ass, isn't she? She's new. She's potentially also a man, depending on how you look at it. Without going into the spoilers, she's like an aspect to another character. I don't know, man. One Piece doesn't handle this stuff particularly amazingly. But anyways, I decided, you know what? Lilith. Yay, Lilith. That'll pop some boners, I suppose. And, I drew this picture that I'm drawing right now. But I was in the same funk. And I'm sure by the end of this, she'll be like, no, it looks fine. It doesn't. It really doesn't. I was very displeased with it. But the original idea with this, and I barely remember this because it's been so long now, and I've, completely lost my mind, obviously. So I can't really remember it too clearly. But the original concept with this was, I'm going to do a video about sort of more just like life stuff, because I haven't been doing that too much lately. It's more been about process, and sometimes just, I like this thing. I'm going to talk about this thing for a little bit. Obviously, it's not playing out very well, is it? No. But that was the original concept. And I was going to talk about the idea of just getting things done, just getting something out the door, or not trying too hard to make everything perfect, that sort of thing. And I ended up doing the exact opposite. Because the original concept of the drawing was just, how good can this actually look if I just try to do it as quickly as possible? So the drawing itself is only like, 4 or 5 hours long, which, for me is fast. It used to be even faster. I used to be able to just crank something out in like 45 minutes. It looked like shit. Like, it looked terrible, but I could do it. Whereas even these days, everything has to be like 9 hours long, or else I'm greatly displeased with the result. But I did it too quickly, so I didn't do enough passes on the concept. And at this point, really it's the color phase that fucks me up. Like, even at this point, I think the drawing looks more or less okay. But whenever you add color to a picture, and especially once you start shading it, it will start to shift the balance of proportions and the geometry of any image just enough that it can actually really fuck up what something looks like. And that's exactly what happened with this picture. The color ended up dominating too much of it, and like I've said many times, my strength is line work. It is not coloring. I do not know what I'm doing when it comes to coloring and shading. I'm just a line work guy. I draw curvy pictures with some interesting looking lines, and every so often I'll do animation, and that's it. That's my thing, dude. That's it. If you want someone that does like realistic, photorealistic painting, you're not going to find it here. I do two things. Line work, and sometimes I might make you laugh. Sometimes, but not today. Not today. So, to that end, after I completed this picture, I thought this isn't good enough, and realized the reason why this is not good enough is because I was being watched. And I've talked about this in the past. But whenever I'm recording myself drawing something, I'm usually way too conscious of everything that I'm doing. Because normally when I'm drawing, I can be a little bit more relaxed. I can get up and use the bathroom. I can just stop what I'm doing 10 minutes in and get up and just walk outside for whatever reason. I can stop and have a conversation with someone. I can like just look off to the side and watch a video for like 10 minutes. And I can maintain that sort of rhythm that makes me not go insane. But whenever I'm doing a time lapse, I kind of have to... I have this problem with streaming too. I do the same thing whenever I'm streaming. Or recording in a Let's Play. Not that I've done that in a while, but I do the same thing there. Where I have this constant need to maintain the same level of energy throughout the entire thing. Like right now, see, the scene is just completely frozen because I probably went and did something for like 3 minutes. And even that was like... I was very conscious of that. And I noticed it even now, and it bothers me. But just the fact that I'm being watched and I know that the image freezes like that, and it occupies more frames, which means more editing potentially, and more things to be worried about in the future, that makes me rush through things really quickly. Like, I try to get the line work done quickly, I try to do the shading as fast as I can, I try to do even the primary as fast as I can. And sometimes I'm worse at that than other times. You know, it just depends. But that's what happened to this picture. And by the way, Lilith does not, as far as I know, have concrete canon colors. So what I did was looked at the only instance that I could find in her scans in which she was depicted with any color at all. And in that one, her hair is sort of this lavender. It strays a little bit more into the pink, I think, but it's almost white, but not quite. Her jacket is, black, but her suit is blue. Whereas usually I see people interpret it as her, because it's in black and white, you can't really interpret it too well. I usually see people interpret it as her jumpsuit is white, jacket is black, of course, because, black jackets look fucking excellent. And usually her hair is also white, but sort of an off-white. So I tried to be as faithful to that coloration as I could. But in the one that I'm going to do after this, I decided, fuck it, I'm just going to use the colors that I want to use. And I'll let God sort it out afterwards. Also, by the way, Butch is in here with me. He's sleeping. So if you suddenly hear him boofing at something, that's what it is. If you hear a louder boof, it's probably my idiotic dogs outside that are screaming at coyotes that are also running around screaming. Because everything around me is always screaming. It's fantastic. It's been a rough month in some ways. But But the reason why I'm doing art gripe at all in the first place is because I'm doing the animation, which is another continuation. It's a continuation of the Harkness idea, the character. So it's another Pokemon parody. It's only going to be about a minute long, but it is, as a result, I think like 3,500 frames, or 3,600, and I'm only at 600 frames in, which is actually, I've gotten a lot of progress in, and I've streamed it a few times on Picardo, and people say it looks mighty nice, but it still takes a long time. So I just wanted to make sure that I got something out the door. But unfortunately, the process of trying to do something real fast, I did like an arm swinging, you know that thing where people clench their fist and kind of swing their arm from their head up through their chest, like, yeah! I did that. I don't know why I explained that to you. Just that's exactly what happened just now. Just in case you were curious. Yeah, I did it. It was a bad idea. I should not have done an art gripe. I should have just kept doing the animation, I think. Because it resulted in this thing that you're seeing right now. Especially with this drawing, whenever you see it flipped, my god, it looks terrible. A lot of that is because a lot of the problems that I had with both of these drawings, well, two of them, is, I guess I called it, like, model confidence. Oda, the person that does One Piece, draws one female body type. Adult female body type. I guess they're slightly different whenever it's like a little kid or something. But adult female body type. He draws exactly one body type. And it is the body type where they have no internal organs, and it is the most perfect hourglass in the world. Their breasts are usually like at least the size of their head. Like this bare minimum. Bare fucking minimum. And their hips are usually not quite that big, but still pretty wide. And then they have similar looking faces. Like, he used to have a real bad case of the same face, but that got much better like 10 years in. Around the time that Robin came about, I think. And since then he's been a little bit better, but in other words, he does not like exhibit amazing artistic quality most of the time in One Piece. That's one of the kind of minor criticisms people have of One Piece, is because it's something that releases like weekly in some cases, unless he goes on break. He is just powering through these things with sketches as fast as he can. So it's completely understandable. I'm not going to criticize that too much. But consequently, a lot of his drawings don't have like a lot of definition to them. They're just, done for the purposes of efficiency, which is absolutely fine. But it does result in this problem. But I'm not used to drawing Oda characters. And I'm certainly not used to doing things with that art style. So with this one, I was trying to get around it, and there I finished it. It's done. And here I am going to try to quote-unquote fix the problem by drawing it again. I tried to fix the problem with that first one by sort of scrunching her over so I could fit as much of her body into the frame as possible. Whereas this one, I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna go ape shit and just do whatever the hell I want to. Oda's bodies, especially the women, have outlandishly long torsos. Like they cut it. Oh my god, will you shut up, phone? They stretch from like the rib cage down to the groin in such a way that you could probably fit the entire upper body from the head all the way down to the rib cage inside of the rest of the torso 1.5 times in some cases. And then the legs are long enough that it encompasses the entire length of the body, like even more than that. Like, it's completely outrageous. But it is such a incredibly specific proportionality that it makes me want to murder something. So with the picture that I complete here, that I'm trying the primary now, and here I am trying to teach myself to draw Oda face. Also, shut up, dog. Boo! 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 Sorry, Bush. Bush is getting in on it. But as far as the body type is concerned, it's very hard for me to draw that specific body type. It drives me crazy. But anyways, the point of me trying to do this art gripe was to talk a little about One Piece, but also talk mainly about like life stuff. I've completely failed at that already. Like it's already gone awry. But if there is one lesson to be gleaned from all this, I guess there's several lessons you could say, but one is that if you're going to draw something, if you're going to do something that is already in a different art style, you should either greatly practice that art style, or you should totally ignore it and draw in whatever style that you find to be most appropriate. But in this particular drawing that in this particular drawing that I'm doing right now, I end up finishing it, but I find the torso to be way too long. And that's because it's an Oda design, so it is. But also, once I get to the coloring and kind of shading portion of it, I feel like that overly emphasizes the length of the torso to the point that it just looks too weird, and I cannot deal with it. It drives me crazy. But before I even did this one, because that first one, I knew I can't draw this correctly because I'm not feeling it, and I know I'm being watched, so that makes me even more conscious of it. I decided, you know what? I'm going to see what happens whenever I do an entirely different drawing, because I didn't feel like doing animation that day, and I instead just draw something without it being seen. And then I drew a picture of Carrot. This is like a test. And that one turned out better than these two. Like, easily, it turned out better than these two. Because I didn't have to worry about the fact that people were like, oh, what's this process? Duh, this is what you guys sound like whenever you watch my art gripes. Duh, I watch Plague of Gripes content. Duh, I have no taste. After doing that, I realized, okay, I will just focus on the things that I'm potentially doing well and not worry about the rest of the things. So after I sort of started feeling it a little bit more, I decided to work on this picture, which is why I focused so much on... This time I decided I'm going to focus on the head, because with Oda designs, there's almost no detail to them whatsoever most of the time. They're very sketchy. Like, if you look at the manga, most of his drawings are so sketchy that in some cases I can't even comprehend what's going on in the paneling. It looks quite bad sometimes. But after you stare at it a little while, then you sort of do get the impression of, oh, that's what's going on. And then it will sort of make sense. But with his women, most of the time it's just rockin' tits and ass. And then fairly detailed tuft of hair and pretty eyes, and that's it. That's most of the focus. Unless he wants to do like a very emotional panel where it zooms in on them having like a expression of some sort, then it suddenly looks fantastic because he is also, a fantastic artist. This is how it goes with him. So I decided, you know what, if I get the face right, then everything else should be okay. Like, if I can just knock the face out of the park, then I can just put whatever below it, and it should be alright. Which is why I put so much emphasis on the face and then the chest, because by the time you get to that weird, incredibly long torso, then I thought, it won't matter. People will just have their eyes tracked to the top of the image, and that's all they're going to care about. If it looks a little bit strange below that, it just will not matter. But I ended up defeating myself because I decided, you know what would be nice if I put like a hint of abs, which I do. But then the abs end up being overly emphasized. I go too crazy with it, and I leave them too visible. So as a result, it pulls the weight of the image down, and it makes you look less so at the face and the chest, and it kind of draws you a little bit too far down. So I fucked up. I completely fucked up the picture by doing that. And just like every other picture, I always screw it up in the shading phase, which always irritates me. The most irritating thing for me as an artist is I'm not good at shading at all, but I have excellent comprehension of like color theory. Like if you look at any of my images, you can tell that I have preferred colors. But I also make everything very vivid and balanced in such a way that almost everything that I paint is nice to look at, even if it's not painted well, because my color theory is good. So my primary stage is kind of weak because it takes me a while to get there. Line work is usually pretty good. It depends on the image. And color theory is great. It's just the shitty shading phase where I always have troubles. But anyways. That's what this video was about. Everyone applaud. Yay, he got to his point. Oh my god. Okay. Now, I was trying to say some sort of point about it. If there's any lesson to be learned from it, I don't know. Because my original lesson that I was going to go for is just get something out there, which is a lesson that is... Shut up, dogs. Which is a lesson that everyone should learn when it comes to art or anything else, is you don't have to make something perfect, you just have to make it. And people will find their own value in it, as long as it meets at least some level of standard. I mean, you can't just... I'm going to do a drawing, and then you pull down your pants, just diarrhea all over paper, and go, it's a drawing too! After like 2 minutes. And then raise your hands, go, what? I did something. And the same voice that you use when you watch Play Gripes content. There has to be at least some standard. You'll find with me, if this is for God knows what reason the first time you're ever listening to me, 1, how'd you make it this far in the video? 2, one of the ongoing themes with me is I like to leverage all of my thoughts. I don't really say, this is absolutely true 100% of the time, and bang my fist on the table. There are always exceptions to everything, which makes it really difficult to teach things whenever you have to shrug and go, it depends to every single thing that you say. That would always drive me crazy when I was talking like to my parents. Like, for example, they did not raise me correctly, so I knew nothing by the time I got to an adult. So I remember asking them when I was like in my late teens, how much money do most people make? And I just wanted a general answer. And it seemed like my mother was doing this, and she would just say, well, it just depends. It just depends. And I kept insisting, it's like, okay, well, how about you? How about him? Like, how much they make? How about the people that you know? How much? Well, it just depends. It varies from year to year. It was driving me insane. It's just, in general, how much do people make? Like, do they make $2,000 a year? Do they make $500 billion a year? What is it? And this is like back in the late 90s. So I eventually got sort of weaseled the thing out of them. It's like, in this area, usually, because everyone here is fucking poor as shit, usually the answer is between like $15,000 to $25,000 a year, which is coincidentally still kind of true, because this is not a wealthy area. Although ever so often you'll run into people that make millions, and I have no clue how they make millions. I just assume they're all doctors or something. Because those are the only people that have money around here. It's lawyers and doctors and every so often you'll run into some weirdo that does some specific job at a factory somewhere. Okay, why the hell was I bringing that up? Oh, concrete answers. But yes, that also drives me insane. Just like I'm sure that listening to me is driving you insane as well. Because I'm just being so frantic and can't really nail anything down. But my original concept was make a video about just getting something out there, getting it done, not worrying about making it perfect, because that's very important. But I ended up defeating that because I did the exact thing that I didn't want to do. Although technically I did make 3 things that I did not dedicate too much time to, I just did too much of it. So the problem is not the drawings, the problem is the video about the drawings and this commentary. That's the problem. So sometimes there is no lesson. Sometimes it's just shitty. Like, not everything in life has to be this amazing life story that has this deep intrinsic meaning to it. I was thinking about that the other day. Like, I don't remember what it was about, just... I think I was watching... Yeah, I think it was because I've been rewatching Hunter x Hunter. I'm not going to talk about Hunter x Hunter right now. But I was experiencing the majesty of anime scenes where people are talking about... Because the main character of Gon is like a dumb animal, but the anime always plays it up like it plays soft, like inspirational music whenever he does something insipid. Like he does something incredibly asinine that in real life you would be brutally punished for doing. You know, it's like one of those anime things where they allow themselves to be punched in the face because they're trying to reach them, or, you know, some stupid fucking horseshit like that. But because they're anime characters, the plot just hand waves things away and allows them to get away with it. And then that becomes the lesson. Like, you know, if everyone just put down their guns and kiss, then the world will be better. You know, just some horseshit like that. You know, it tries to make it like this blanket universal thing where this is the way life should be. But when it comes to life, things happen by circumstance. Like, they're individual problems that need individual solutions. And that's incredibly irritating for everyone, because you can't apply one thing to every single category. Like, human beings love to categorize things. We love to look at a race of people, for example, and go, I had a bad experience with this person that looked like this before. And I'm going to apply that to every single person that looks like that now. Which, from an evolutionary standpoint, is a great idea. If you stem from a species that was developing in little tiny tribes of like 100 people or so, if you see something that you don't recognize, then it makes sense to have a biological reaction of fear to that. Or if it's someone that looks like you, that also has like a different skin tone or different hair color, or, you know, it's just something like that. Something that is not at all like you, and your defined criteria of what is, you know, quote unquote normal, then it makes sense to compete against whatever that is for the sake of your genetic profile. Like, that increases your odds of success. I'm not making the statement of racism is normal or anything, or anything like that. Just that it makes perfect sense that things like bigotry would develop organically within species, because this just something that occurs naturally. It's not something that is completely advantageous in every situation. Maybe I should just stop talking. Yeah, but you get what I'm trying to say. That it is understandable that even the things that we despise most about ourselves would happen as a result of the fact that life is not something that you can evenly apply in such a way. Like, if you get attacked by a guy from a neighboring village and they all have like an earring in their left ear or something, then you might see someone else that has an earring in their left ear, and go, that guy's probably bad too. And you might be right, because he's still developed from that same culture. So as a result, that local culture might make them all assholes, especially if they're interacting with strangers. Or it could just be that one individual guy from that culture was an asshole himself, and the rest of them are super fucking cool. And so your bigotry against people that have earrings in their left ear, or whatever I said, was completely unfounded. Why the hell am I talking about this? Yes. When it comes to life in general, you can't apply a single sentiment, even if it's rooted in valuable experience. It can be informed, but it can also be completely incorrect. It just depends on lots of differing factors. That is what wisdom is supposed to be for. You can't just have raw experiences, because you can, in theory, just have lots of negative experiences by sheer coincidence. Like a lot of my experiences whenever I was younger with people were all negative, like all the time. But that doesn't mean that most people are awful, although probably they are. But they're not the same degree of awful that I thought that they were whenever I was a kid. I just had lots of bad experiences. It's just that people are very quirky and have their own individual experiences, their own individual wisdoms, and that is what you see in day-to-day life, and that's what makes it hard to evaluate things. Anyways, the life lesson of this video, then, I guess, is something. It does have a lesson, because I've done 3 individual drawings, 2 of which you're going to see, 1 of which you did not. Which then you could say, well, the lesson is, if you worry someone, then they're probably going to do worse than they would have done otherwise. That's the lesson. You can draw that from it. Another lesson could be, if you do something multiple times, you're going to improve at it. In theory. Or you could say that the lesson is, if you psych yourself out, then you're going to do worse at it regardless of what your skill level happens to be. Or you could say that the lesson is that if you're trying to replicate someone else's brand of success, then you're going to fail because you have to find your own way. Potentially. Although, when it comes to art, that's not really always something you can... that's not something that you can always just apply to every situation, since you're drawing so many other art styles anyways. Also, I fucking hate having those dogs outside. Anyways. One Piece. Let's talk about One Piece. One Piece has lots of life lessons, or it used to. These days it's more about bombastic, weird clones and replicating powers and just other strange things like that. But usually I would say that the lessons of One Piece are about the concept of freedom and having the ability to choose your own destiny. Something, by the way, here's another lesson. Having a dog barking right in your window. This is the audio version of being watched. Because I'm aware that the dog barking is showing up on my audio readout. So it makes me way more aware of the things that I'm saying and when I say it. Because if I talk, then it picks it up even more. So that makes my commentary worse. And it was already kind of shitty. Hey. God damn it, what was I saying? Yes, One Piece. So, One Piece has this same sort of deal. This was what was reminding me of it, since I was watching Hunter x Hunter lately. Luffy and Gon had the same sort of thing going on, where, and so does Goku for that matter, where they are presented as not being good guys necessarily. Like, the circumstances of the writing always makes them seem to be good people, but they're really not. Like, Goku doesn't give a shit about pretty much anything unless it is food, fighting for his own amusement, or his personal friends. And sometimes if he runs into a stranger that's being bullied, he'll care about them. But he won't actually care about them, he just doesn't like the idea of someone that is weak and can't defend themselves being picked on. He doesn't like uneven fights, I guess. And that's Goku. That's everything about him. He's not really a good person otherwise. There's not many situations in which you would point to Goku and go, oh, he's a terrible person. But they do exist, and I'm sure you can think of some already. Because him throwing the Zenzu beam to Cell because he wanted there to be a good fight, and he didn't give a shit whether it endangered the Earth or the rest of the universe, that's a bad person thing to do. That's an example of Goku being a stupid shithead, and it's hard to argue against that. He's not like a good person as a result. Gon, even more transparently, is kind of a terrible person. The way he's written, it always tries to play up how wise he is, because like he does multiple things. Like he, at one point, I'm trying to think of good examples, because he does it constantly. Like, if he's told, here are some enemies over here, you can either run straight into them like a fucking moron, or in order to possibly save the lives of other people, you can go around them. Gon will completely ignore that and go, oh, I'm definitely going to go straight for them. Why? Because he just wants to. He's like programmed to do it. Actually going through it and rewatching it lately, I get the impression that Gon is like there's something going on with him. Like he was, I don't know, like programmed by his dad or something to be obsessive about him and to react in certain ways. Like he's a weird clone or something. I don't know what the fuck's going on with him. But he's super weird. Like the things that he does make no sense. Like he's obsessed with meeting his dad while simultaneously not really caring about him. But he's incredibly obsessive about Kite dying, even though he like ran into him once as a kid in the woods and didn't even really know his name. And whenever they were traveling with him, it was just for like a week or two, and he loses his goddamn mind. Like it's the worst thing that's ever happened to anyone whenever Kite gets injured. It makes no sense at all. And whenever he's prompted, hey, would you like to know any information about your mother? He pretty much just like takes the tape out of the tape recorder, crushes it, shits on it, throws it out of a window, screaming, no! I'll never learn about my mother, fuck her! Which I get because he had Mito, I think that's what her name is. And she was sort of his mother in a way, so I kind of get that. But it also doesn't explain why he's so obsessed with his dad then. And some people say, well, you know, like he says, he just wants to see what was so important that it pulled him away. And it ended up, you know, it was the Hunter Association. But the second that he becomes a hunter, what does he do? He sells his license. Because he doesn't really give a shit about being a hunter either. Just, his writing is so weird. Gon is such a weird, stupid little asshole. And he's constantly putting other people in danger and doing things that are just completely asinine. That gets him into trouble constantly. But the writing, of course, never punishes him for doing it because he's the main character. Yeah, it's just one of those anime writing conventions. Luffy sort of does that same thing. I feel like his traits are not as defined as they are in Hunter x Hunter, certainly. Like, Gon is... I hate Gon. Like, he's just such a dumb little fucking asshole, and I would love to just watch him get the shit kicked out of him. Like, there's a point where they're playing that volleyball game against Spike? I can't remember what his name is. On Greed Island. And the guy figures out this kid is a dumb asshole. So his final move is I'm going to ricochet the ball, because they're playing volleyball, back at him, and he doesn't have the strength to catch it, and he doesn't have the strength to ricochet the thing away or anything. He can't defend himself. If he just ducked, then they would win the game. But he knows that Gon is such a dumb little selfish fuck that he will refuse to dodge, because he's got to do it the hard way, because that's Gon. And the only thing that saves Gon is that he just passes out at that very last second. I want to see him not pass out. I want to see, like, every enemy in the series, like, hear it through the grapevine. Like, they get a call from, what's his name? Miriam's ghost. And Miriam never met him. But Miriam's ghost, for some reason, knows this. And he phone calls everyone in the waking world and is like, look, this kid, this is exactly the way he is. If you try to get him into a situation where he has to back down in order to win, he won't do it. So everyone does that. They just put him in a situation in which all he has to do is just allow the other person to lose because they made a bad decision. And he'll just lose every fight after that. Just eat shit constantly. Just because he's so fucking hard-headed. But it's one of those situations where the writer just bails him out of every situation that he puts him in. Because he has some sort of bizarre... That's one of the things I hate about anime, is whenever they have the character do something stupid. Like, you know, whenever characters... Western things do this sometimes too. Where someone's in trouble. Like, someone did something that they shouldn't have done, and they're about to be caught. But then the protagonist steps in and goes, I did that. Like, I stole the gold doubloons. I'm the one that broke your vase. I'm the one that tripped and broke the One Piece, or whatever the hell it is. And it's supposed to be like this noble, honorable thing where they're taking the fall for this other person. And then after the scene ends and they get reprimanded, the other person's like, why'd you do it? And the other person, and the protagonist is like, I see something in you. It's like, it wouldn't have been right if blah, blah, blah. I hate that trope. I fucking hate that shit. Because, you know my thing, like every situation is different? There are almost no situations in which that's a good idea. Like, if you do something stupid, and you're about to face the repercussions of that having happened, having someone else that is not at fault at all to sweep in and take the blame for you is not really going to teach you anything meaningful. Like, sure, you're going to appreciate it, but unless you're a really good person at heart and you already knew those things were wrong and you were trying desperately not to do them, you're probably just going to go back to doing them because you're an asshole in the first place. Always hated that stuff. Anyways, Luffy, yes. Luffy is sort of like that, where he does all those little tropey things. But his main concern is he wants to be the most free, which is a concept that makes absolutely no sense at all. Like, if you think about it. Because, well, I'll get into this. But he only cares about freedom, and he cares about food, and going on little adventures, and having an interesting experience living. And that's it. That's all Luffy cares about. That's kind of the core to his being. And it's good in the sense that it makes it really simple to follow him. He's a good character, but, that's all there is to him. But yeah, the concept of freedom in One Piece, his version of freedom makes no sense. Like, he originally was, obsessed with finding the One Piece because he wants to be the Pirate King. Why does he want to be the Pirate King? Because the Pirate King is the most free, which I guess that's, his logic is, if he finds the One Piece, that automatically makes him the Pirate King, but he doesn't care about what the One Piece is. He doesn't care about anything. He just wants the title so that other people would recognize him. No, he doesn't want that either. The only reason why he seems to want to find the One Piece is because then he will be proving it to himself that he's the most free. But he's so preoccupied with the idea of being the Pirate King that he's enslaved by it. You get what I'm saying? His whole life, he has no freedom. His whole life is that he is a pirate. He must live a certain way now. Like, he's constantly getting in these life and death situations. And he has to do those things. He has to fight. He's having the fight for his friends and his honor and for the sake of these allied islands and things like that. He has to do these things now because he's married himself to it. That's what his identity is now. He is not free in any way whatsoever. And he also has the other standard, like, cartoon problem of how do these people feed themselves? Like, they eat well because Sanji makes them tasty meals. He's a great cook. Where does he get this food from? Like, how do they make money? It's one of those cartoon problems where the characters just exist in this weird vacuum where everything falls into their laps whenever they need it, but most of the time it's not even addressed. Like, whenever you're world building, it's said that one of the things that you have to ask is, what do the people eat? Like, that's the most core way of evaluating your setting, because you have to have an answer to that problem. Because the more you think about it, you think, well, these people in this nation get their food primarily from, like, grain or something. Then where they get the grain from? Well, this other neighboring country is agricultural states. Then you have to wonder, well, how come they can sustain themselves on... It just keeps going and going. But it's just the first step, because being able to feed yourself is the first step with anything else. And One Piece, who cares? No one gives a shit. How does the One Piece crew feed themselves? And sometimes there's an answer to that. Like, ever so often they'll find Skypiea, and there'll just be shit tons of gold. But then they'll run through it, comically, because Luffy's so hungry. And Goku does the same thing. Like, sometimes they'll get a bunch of tournament money, and then, haha, Goku ate all of it already. Haha, it's so funny that Goku eats! Oh, it's so fucking funny that Goku eats! Oh, I'm fucking coming, because it's so goddamn funny that Goku eats food. If you can't tell, I don't think it's that funny. Also, shut up, dog. Jesus Christ. He does this all the time. Like, it's one dog. We have 2 dogs outside. There's one. He's the black one. That sounded bad. I'm trying to identify him. There's a mottled one, then there's a black one that has, like, a white thing on his chest. It just so happened the black one has a mottled thing on his chest. He's the asshole. He's the one that's always trying to start fights. He's the one that's constantly bored. He's the one that wants all the food if you put all the food in there. And he's the one that never shuts up. Like, throughout the entire night, he's just barking at nothing. Because he's a special boy. He's just a special boy. His dire needs to bark. Anyways. Drawn complete. Everything went well. This art gripe commentary was not problematic in any way. Hello, Butch. Welcome back. Did you enjoy... Where did you go? Butch, you left for, like... I've been recording for a while. Where'd you go for that long? I looked over and you were gone for like 30 minutes. This is a lot looking at me. You just vanished. You didn't pee anywhere, I hope. You didn't ask to be let out. Ah, whatever. Okay. Oh, what a shit fuck of a video this is. Anyways. I'm enjoying One Piece. Like, especially now that we're at a fucking Onigashima. Like, I feel like I've talked about it in some other video, because just Japan's preoccupation with itself drives me crazy. I hate it. Just any time that you see someone show up that has a katana and he's wearing a kimono, like, oh, here we fucking go. And of course, what's the longest arc in One Piece? Like, it's Onigashima. Why? Because that's the one where they go to not Japan, and they have to masturbate to themselves. Us. Oh, Japan. Space Japan. Oh, fuck. And it's just that for... What's the second longest One Piece chapter? I forget what it is, but I think Onigashima is like 3 times longer than it. Maybe even like 4. It's ridiculous. And it's just... It almost doesn't even have a story. Like, not a fucking thing happens. Like, a bunch of nobody jobbers show, we're the ones to do it with Odin. I don't care. I don't give a shit about Odin either. Did you know Odin, who's super important and Japanese? I mean, he's from not Japan, and he was super important. He was like one of the most important crewmates of the original crew, and he's the key to everything. Yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah, Japan's very important. We get it. I don't care. Just nothing important happened there. The crew got slightly stronger because Luffy figured out to use Conqueror's Key in the same way that he was already using the other Kaki. Whatever, just get out of there. And now that they finally got out of that shit fest of a story, because, oh, Japan, oh, katanas, I'm coming. After they finally got that out of their fucking systems, they get to Egghead, and now it's goddamn amazing. Because all sorts of crazy things are happening every single week. And we're learning tons of new information. And you could, well, it's just because they went to a new saga. No, it's not just because they went to a new saga. It's because now I feel like Oda finally realized, oh, I went too far in a few places. Which is why he started hurrying through things at the very end of Ogashiba. It wasn't just because of Film Red. That I think now he's like, okay, I need to actually plant my feet on the ground and actually start telling a story again. Which is why now we're suddenly getting a story. Anyways, if you can't tell, I got very frustrated because we were at we were at Wano for how many years? It was like almost 10 years or something that he was telling that story. And it was nothing. So frustrating. It could have just been like a pump and dump arc that lasted like 2 years, fine, and then we would have gone on to like any place else. Like we're not even at what the fuck is it called? We're not even at the Land of the Giants yet. Whatever it's called. NL. No, not NL. I can't remember. I'll remember it in like 5 minutes. But I'm just happy that the plot is moving again. We're actually experiencing things and learning things about the world. Some of those things I know had the weight because they're incredibly vital to the story, but it feels good to have things happen. Wano is like by far my least favorite arc because not only did nothing happen as far as I'm concerned, but also at the same time, everyone wouldn't shut up about it. Like it's the greatest thing ever. And just nothing. It's nothing. What's more enraging is that the anime comes along and it has like no story to tell. But because Space Japan, they dump every last fucking cent of animation budget into these episodes. And they have some amazing looking animation for something that just doesn't deserve it. It's like what's the name of that really shitty anime that, like all of them, what's the name of that really shitty anime that is, it has this stupid pig guy in it, the one that wears that dumb pig mask, and that dumb little girl that is biting on the wood all the time, whatever that fucking thing's called. I watched that thing, I can't remember what it's called. That was the shittiest story I think I've seen in quite a while. Nothing happens. Not a goddamn thing happens. It's incredibly boring. It's a terrible story, but the anime has tons of money pumped into it. And whenever people talk, oh, it's amazing. Why is it amazing? Did you see that sword slash effect? Yeah, I saw it. Do you have literally anything else? You want to talk about its amazing story? About how he got his sister and there's like a kind of a fussy anime villain guy that they have to track down. It's not impressed with that either. Just pumping money into something does not make it better. Just like pumping more time into a drawing doesn't make it better either. Which is why sometimes you make 3 of them. Oh, I'm a very critical person, of myself especially. But yeah, anyways, here we have all 3 of these damn things. Carrot's the one that I had the most love into, because I like Carrot. I had no one watching me, so I could take as many risks as I wanted to, and I could show you the final result whenever I wanted to. The first image is not as bad as I remembered. The third one, I put too much emphasis on those damn abs, and even though it is not on model, I probably would have shrunk that torso down a little bit more. But I guess it still looks fine. I hope you enjoyed this terrible art gripe. This has been an awful, awful art gripe with some terrible commentary. I hope lots of you are angry, because I'm angry at myself. Maybe that's the life lesson. Maybe the reason why my art suffered is because I was frustrated with myself because I haven't been able to get anything out on time. That's probably what it is. Actually, that is what it was. That's the epiphany. Because I've been working on the animation and I'm really, anxious about trying to get it done as quickly as I possibly can, but it's animation, so I can't. So that is translating into all my drawings, because even with my drawings, I'm not taking my time and enjoying the process. I'm just trying to get them done as fast as I possibly can, because I feel like I'm always on a timer. Anyways, that's my art gripe lesson right there. It takes evaluation to be able to learn all these things. And also, people with earrings in one of their ear may not be trustworthy. It just depends. You'll never know. You'll never know. Someone's going to clip one part of this and I'm going to get in trouble. Alright, anyways. I'll see you guys hopefully with an animation soon. Any day now. Any day now. Say goodbye, Butch. Oh, he left. He left again. Fuck. Guess he doesn't like me either.